Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I would like to talk a little bit more general topics such as safety issue in China, because I think it would be very useful for those of you who are thinking of visiting China in general or wanting to know how is China actually. Because a lot of bad news are actually spreading around about China, so I can share a little bit of my experiences. In general, China is very safe. So if you're asking me, is China safe? For solo traveler, especially female solo traveler, very much safe, yes. I've traveled alone since 2013, mostly in Asia. Um, I cannot say and represent all parts of China because I've never been to most of China. I've only been to Kunming, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Beijing, Shanghai, and for most of the part I've lived in Yinchuan. I had moved to Yinchuan, which is technically a northwestern part of China, since January early this year. Actually, I've never felt like threatened or being too precautious or being too, I have to be so aware of my own safety. In terms of public safety, it is very safe. Even in comparison to Jakarta, where I'm from and where I have lived in the past, people are generally not bothering you so much, even though I had experienced several stare, you know. But it's more of a curious stare as to how I dress generally, or just because I look different. I mean, I'm still Asian. My face is very much Asian, but I don't look like Chinese ethnicity. So probably that is why sometimes I get that type of curious stare, but it's not in a way that it's a mean stare or trying to harm you type of stare. I've taken train, I've taken bus, I've walked a lot at night. By night I mean like 10-11 p.m. I've taken taxi and cab, same thing, at night, such as 11-12. And of course I fly by myself most of the time, and it is very much safe. I don't feel threatened. I don't even feel like I'm afraid of such things happen that may be caused by the taxi driver, because that's not the case, even though that I don't generally speak Chinese, but I can help myself to get around a little bit. And I usually use application that can translate in between Chinese and English. But in general, you don't feel that vibe. You don't get that vibe of people wanting to harm you or people wanting to hurt you. The curiosity look usually comes because, in China, 90% of their ethnicity is Han people, which is the Chinese ethnicity by itself. Okay, there are Hui people, there are Uyghur, there are other minorities, but it's very much small percentage throughout China. So if you look different, of course they're curious, because most of the time they will only have family as a Chinese people, friends that is also Chinese people, colleagues, boyfriend, girlfriend. For most of the part, they are also Chinese people. So that's why it's just a little bit of understanding why they do the way they do, and it's just funny, and sometimes it feels like you can actually start to create conversation based on that look. You can say just hello and just smile, and then they usually smile back because they're just basically curious. They're not wanting to harm you in such a way. People here are generally very peaceful, friendly, and laid back. So in the morning, for example, usually people are gathering around, especially the older ones. They would gather around every day to exercise, to just do the tai chi, the aerobic parts, just some sort of activity, because Chinese people, or Asian in general, I would say, even Indonesian, are type of communal society in which their mindset is more of a group society. So the more the merrier, you know. That also shows how actually they celebrate everything. Most of the time, for example, with the school that I am currently working for, in the past we had several dinners, and actually it's a way of celebrating something. So usually it's in combination of food culture that China is highly taking that into account, as well as the group community that they have. In terms of interaction with foreigners, it is, I cannot say, because well, yes, I'm technically foreigner, but I'm still Asian, so my perspective and my experiences might be, of course, it will be totally different from the ones who are coming from the Western part, because I can actually understand some of Chinese culture in a way, that how is the society work, although it is so much more communal than Indonesia, I would say. However, in terms of interaction with foreigners, it is very much casual. They're very much curious, because especially in the northern part of China, especially in Incheon by itself, there is a very limited amount of number of foreigners, and so they are not so used to and familiar with the idea of foreigner. So they usually are curious as to how asking where are you from, and then what are you doing here, but not in a way that trying to threaten you. Okay. They're just basically curious, and if you can speak a little bit, just a little bit of their language, it is very much helpful to actually open up a very good friendship. It is safe to say that as long as you are doing everything based on the law, you don't technically create such riots or chaotic situation, you will be fine. If you're asking me how free is China, meaning how much liberty can you have to do in terms of doing things in China, it is safe to say that if you know how to do it, it's pretty much easy to do anything. Although the government are pretty much taking care and take control of everything, because of the fact that China is communist country, it is actually, you can do anything pretty much here, meaning as long as it's not against the law. Yes, internet are blocked with the Great Firewall, but if you know how to use VPN, it's pretty much easy. The government is trying so much, and especially for the past decade, that China is changing so much in terms of economy. It also allows Chinese people to actually experiencing a lot more convenience. For the most part, it is easy to do everything in China because it's based on one application. Usually, Chinese people are using this WeChat. It's called WeChat, as something like WhatsApp, but it's all pretty much, you can do everything there. You can pay street vendor, you can pay from A to Z, groceries, food, anything there. You can pay your phone credit, gas credit, water credit, electricity, credit card bills, anything there. So pretty much it's very much convenient. And so for the most part, it doesn't feel like it is being restricted. Mind you, Chinese people are not very much interested in international politics or international politics ideologies that is happening around the world. That is suffice to say, due to also because of the restriction of the internet. But for the most part, it's actually good, because what I can feel now, you know, like it's safe. It's pretty much safe in a way that they don't create such chaotic opinion. If they do want, they know that they have to be careful in what they say about the government for the Chinese government. But for the international politics, most of the time they don't really much. They're not interested because they're convenient with their own life. They're very much content with what they have, and so they feel like what they see as a value in life is mostly family members, health, education, their own children, and their perspective are dynamic. Some would feel like it's more so like yin and yang. It has to be like balanced out, and it creates such a peaceful, laid back, and usually friendly environment based on my experience. And if you are curious as to why Chinese people are not mad about the idea of the internet restriction, because most of the the website that is blocked, such as Google, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, anything that is related to that social media, Chinese people have their own website as a substitution. So they're not pretty much left behind, but it is mostly based on the Chinese society by itself. So it's not really exposed to the world. I would say though, because of the internet restriction, it would create, okay, in some parts it's good that there is no chaotic situation due to political differences. Although I've heard that in Xinjiang, the most western part of China, which is generally the biggest province in China, has been very, how do I say that? But some of my Chinese friends think that it is dangerous to go there, or the situation is just not as safe in other parts of China. I would say it's not like that. Yes, it may have had some turmoil, but it's because of the religion and different ideologies with the Communist Party in China in general. However, if you want to see how safe is Xinjiang, there is this channel specifically that portrays about Xinjiang, and I think there is also recently a food network channel on YouTube that actually features Xinjiang. I can't say that my opinion are absolute or very much true, because I don't really speak Mandarin. I can only hear from the perspective of my Chinese friends who are also able to speak English. They are not, in fact, interested in international politics, which is fairly to say not a bad thing nor not a good thing. Sometimes it's good to have a critical mind about your own situation, but sometimes it's also good that you know that you're content with your own situation. I've talked with not a lot, for the most part, some of my Chinese friends that I know that is able to have a very objective opinion when it comes to, for example, internet restriction. However, they feel like it doesn't limit them. They feel like it is necessary for the government to do that, because for the number of people that lives in China and for the huge country, even one of the biggest country, and then how China is currently one of the top most developing in terms of economy, it is for the safety of their own. Because you have to see that as much as the Shanghai Beijing Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and for the most cities in China are very much developed. There are so many still poor people, uneducated Chinese people that are not able to actually filter out, you know, what is actually happening in China, and especially how the I would say the Western news are covering China. It is very much one-sided, and it may create such turmoil as well in the domestic domestic political situation in China. And if you're wondering in terms of food safety, so far I don't have any problem. If you are very much afraid of the street food, then try to do the pretty much more a food stall or local restaurant. It is very clean though. For the most part, I cannot say a lot, but I think the fact that I'm still alive, healthy, it is very much a fact and an evidence and a proof that food are pretty much fairly good. Last but not least, I would like to say that living in China, traveling and living abroad is different, okay? And living in China since January have taught me that actually different societies have different perspective. They also have different importance in terms of values, in terms of perspective on their level of development. So if you judge other countries based on your own lens, it will not be able to change the society norm in a way that it will not be able to actually change the society in a productive way, because it's just different. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It's just different. It's like this my American friend. She's currently having great difficulty in trying to accept with the Chinese culture. The annoyance is that she is currently having is like speeding around, like how the Chinese people are actually talking so loud as if that they're screaming to each other and yelling to each other. What else? How they stare her because she's different. She looks different, especially in Incheon. You don't see a lot of foreigner. And what I can say is that she mentioned this to me the other day, how she hates it when people are spitting, because in the US it is considered to be very, very rude. And so I thought, yeah, you're right. And so I say to her, you're right, but you're not in the US. You are currently in China. Meaning that even though it's different, it doesn't mean that one way is better than the other. Doesn't mean that, for example, a lot of Western people feel China will be a lot better with democracy. It might be not true, might be not true, might be not true. Because when it comes to politics, it gets very sensitive. But also for the cultures, you have to understand that different way of living teaches you different way of life as well. It will teach you that you have to be mindful most of the time. You have to approach things and see things with kindness, you know, because otherwise you will hate your time here. Because China is not the easiest country to live for the first time, especially this is my first time living abroad. The great difference of the language, and for example how very, very few people that can actually speak English. But in general, if you are content inside and start to accept mindfully and start to appreciate, because you don't have to always live with your own values. Meaning, I don't say that you have to compromise your own value. You still have your own value. But when it comes to living in someone else's country, try to understand as well, even though it may not be right or correct or actually positive way for you, but that doesn't mean that it's a wrong way for them. You know, it's just different, and accepting differences creates such tolerance, you know. And that's why it's important to travel, to actually live abroad, because when it comes to traveling, if you hate one country, you can easily move like that. But when you live abroad, you have to deal day-to-day annoyances. You have to start accepting the fact that you're not going anywhere, and that's different, you know. You can't always set the fundamental of every values based on your own, or based from where you're coming from, because as I said, different people, different society, different country will have different priorities and perspective, and that's just the way it is. So I think that's all about my video today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll try to make another video. Please leave in the comment down below what sort of video that you would like to see and to have, because right now I can fairly only create video based on topics, because I don't travel around as much anymore due to my full-time job. But it is still such a pleasure for me to create such video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.